Let's talk about Mike Tyson. I mean, just the name itself brings up these huge images, right? Explosive power, all the controversy, one of the biggest rises and falls in sports history. But what if the story we all know is wrong? What if the one thing that we think defined his entire career wasn't really the main event? We're going to dive into what we're calling the absolute timeline of Iron Mike Tyson. You all know this moment. We've all seen the picture. Tokyo, 1990. The undefeated, undisputed, seemingly invincible heavyweight champion of the world is on the canvas. Look, that loss to Buster Douglas wasn't just some upset. It was like an earthquake. It was the exact moment the myth of Mike Tyson just shattered into a million pieces. And that's the reality we all live with. But what if that knockout in Tokyo was really just the final symptom of a much, much bigger problem? What if the real blow, the one that truly stopped the unstoppable force, wasn't a punch at all? What if it was a personal relationship? That's the huge question we're exploring today. What if his whole professional decline was kicked off by stuff happening way outside the ropes? Okay, so let's pinpoint the exact moment where history splits. We're heading back to the late 1980s, and we're going to make one single change. We're swapping out his chaotic marriage to Robin Givens for a relationship with someone who was his equal on the world stage, supermodel Naomi Campbell, a true partnership of peers.
Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. Let's break this down. In our timeline, the Givens era was just full of public drama, this narrative that he was being manipulated. But with Campbell, his peer in fame and power, they become this untouchable global power couple. And here it is, the most important part, where the Givens camp was pushing for a management overhaul that got his trainer Kevin Rooney fired. Naomi Campbell has zero reason to do that. So, Rooney stays. The training camp is stable, and his focus on boxing stays absolutely razor sharp. And this quote just nails the new Tyson that emerges from this timeline. He's not just the baddest man on the planet anymore. He's a cultural icon. He's this fashionable killer. He's walking this incredible line between high fashion and just brutal, brutal efficiency in the ring. This guy is as comfortable at Paris Fashion Week as he is at the Garden. It's a persona sports had literally never seen before.
So, how did this new high fashion image actually translate to his performance? Well, it's simple. It preserved the weapon itself. All that stability at home meant that the skills that made him a legend in the first place never, ever eroded. So how exactly did it work? It's a perfect chain of events. Naomi Campbell's peer dynamic means there's no outside interference. No interference means no management shakeup. And no shakeup means Kevin Rooney, the guy Customato literally handpicked to carry on his style, stays in Tyson's corner. And what's the result? The peekaboo style, that hypnotic head movement, those devastating combinations. It's all there, perfectly preserved right through his athletic prime. All right, so with his technique locked in and his focus completely dialed, the 1990s are no longer a story of decline and comeback. No, they become a decade of just absolute, unquestioned dominance. Welcome to the Tyson era. Just look at the legacy he builds here. In this timeline, he doesn't fight Buster Douglas. Instead, he takes on a peak of Vander Holyfield's in 1990 and stops him. And because his life is more stable, he completely avoids the legal mess that sent him to prison in '92. So he stays active, taking on and beating legends like George Foreman and Riddick Bowe, unifying the whole division year after year after year.
So by 1995, instead of coming back from a prison cell, Mike Tyson isn't just undefeated, he's a living monument to boxing perfection. His record stands at 48-0, utterly undisputed, completely untouchable. I mean, the contrast is just night and day, isn't it? In our world, he's a comeback story at 41-1, and his legacy is forever tangled up with those big losses to Holyfield and Lewis. But in the absolute timeline, there are no asterisks. He is firmly in the conversation for the greatest of all time, because he stood completely alone at the top of the mountain for almost a decade. But look, even the greatest champions have to face that final bell. Father Time is still undefeated, right? So in this perfect timeline, the end still comes, but the huge difference is that it arrives on his terms, with his legacy and his dignity completely intact. So picture this. The year is 2008. After years of dominance and a short retirement, Tyson gets lured back for one last fight. And his opponent? The reigning king, the 6'7" giant Vitali Klitschko. It's a true clash of eras, the aging legend versus the current, unstoppable champion. A massive, massive challenge. And this, right here, is the final, most powerful difference. In our world, Tyson's career just kind of whimpered out, quitting on the stool against a journeyman fighter. Here, he goes out on his shield. He loses, yeah, but he's on his feet, stopped by the best in the world. He doesn't retire in disgrace and financial ruin. He retires celebrated for his courage, passing the torch with his money and his honor totally secure.
So it all leaves us with this one big thought. We love to think of greatness as being forged just by raw talent and willpower. But the story of this absolute Tyson, well, it suggests something else entirely. It really forces you to ask how much of anyone's legacy is built by the person themselves, and how much of it is just shaped for better or for worse by the world and the people that happen to be around them.